All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start off this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops, a great millstone that rule well, that teach well while learning the truth, 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, prophet servants scattered abroad the four corners of the earth, and shalom to you, Akwaf, which are you sisters that are sincere in your children, shalom. And in today's video, as you can see from the title, is going to be building off of this video that I seen, what they have going on in the news. It says the FBI shifts resources to major U.S. cities in response to potential attacks, right? So you basically having the United States government, they're beefing up the security all throughout these U.S. cities, allegedly that there's going to be some type of, T attacks in the near future that they're ultimately saying is going to happen. So, I mean, we see everything ultimately leading up to all of that chaos and things of that nature ultimately breaking loose. But we also know what the scripture said as well. And I'm going to get that. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. But I'm going to read it in the GNT, which is the Good News translation. It said, in order to keep Satan from getting the upper hand over us, for we know what his plans are, and we know ultimately the plans of this devil, right, is to bring forth martial law, to bring in 15-minute smart cities, and the only way that he can ultimately bring these things about is him ultimately trying to bring forward chaos, man. As it tells you, order out of chaos. He's going to try to bring in that order out of chaos, and the chaos is saying that, these Iranian sleeper cells here in America are going to get active. And we know that they're going to get active soon to come because it's all part of prophecy and the things that are going to take place in this country, America. But you got the government on the other end that's trying to push that narrative to where they can instill fear in the people so that they can bring forth their agenda, man, which is, bringing more military groups into these cities, which is going to happen because all of these things are part of prophecy. So we know it's for an appointed time, but all of these things will begin to manifest, so martial law coming to these cities, everything being barricaded and locked down, and, people being able to be tallied and tracked and all of those different types of things. That's ultimately what they want to bring about. And they're going to do that through chaos, man. Right. Or creating the chaos, or, talking about it, whether it's the truth or whether it's lies. They're going to use it as a catalyst to bring forward their agenda, man. Right. So I'm actually go to this precept. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10. And it says, never trust thine enemy. Our enemy is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Right. And it says, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right. And we know the worser iron rusteth is, the worser it gets, right? So that's the same thing with this man's personality. Like, the closer we get to him ultimately coming out of power, the more he's going to become more wicked, the more he's going to write unrighteous decrees, the more he's going to put these wicked legislations into place to ultimately, try to control and to orchestrate and to have dominion over the people, mainly over you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, right? So this is verse 11. Right. Though he humble himself and go crouching. Right. And that's what he's doing. He's going to tell you that he's ultimately beefing up the security in these neighborhoods is due to so-called TERRO, arrest, being in the cities and things of that nature. So he's going to tell people that, he's doing these things ultimately to try to help you, to try to make sure that the country can stay safe and all of that. Whole time while he's ultimately trying to put these things into play so that he can ultimately snare and trap you people up, man, And I'm actually go to that precept, right? Because this is a scripture. It tells you in Psalms 55 and 21 in the KJV, the words of his mouth, right? Talking about Esau were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, right? Because that's this man's mindset, right? Though he's telling you that he's trying to put forward all this security and stuff in these states to try to bring forth, diffusing chaos and all of those different types of things. But in reality, he wants this chaos to come so that he can implement and bring in what he's trying to ultimately establish, man, which is that new world order, right? It said his words were softer than oil, yet were they drawing swords, right? Because this man always has a trick up his sleeve, right? That's why you're never supposed to trust this devil, man, right? And getting back to where I left off at, it says, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away, man. That's talking about Esau, man, because this man was created to be the wicked, right? That's his part that he plays in the Lord's movie, man. So this devil will never be right, as it tells you in this scripture right here. I'm going to go to that, right? Bear with me. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. I got to get this precept. Right? All right, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 13 in the KJV, and it says, consider the work of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, who can make that straight which he have made crooked, right? And that's talking about Esau Edom, man. So you're never supposed to trust this man or anything in which it is he ultimately puts out, that he ultimately tells you is for your betterment or is to help you or is to make this country better than what it is. It's all a lie, man. Right? Because this man is the devil at the end of the day. You know, he speaks with a forked tongue, man. Every time he speaks is to, you know, cause division, or the chaos is always a hidden motive behind whatever it is this man is ultimately trying to, you know, bring into fruition, right? Or to set in place, right? It's never for your benefit. Mainly you Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. Right? And we know this is all part of the prophecy that the Lord said will happen in the latter days, you know, that devil coming down with great wrath, right? And we're moving into those times where this devil is about to get more sinister. You know, he's about to start showing his horns even more and more. You know, it's not going to be denying these things that the men of the Lord have been warning you Israelites about that are about to come to this place, America, because this devil Esau is about to start showing you people, right? So this is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. And it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, right, Esau Edom, is coming down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. And that's what he knows, man. That's why he's going to allow any type of event that ultimately occurs in the world or in this place, America. They're going to take advantage of it, man, so that they can ultimately work on their agenda that they're trying to put into place, you know, because that's what everything is ultimately about. You know, that NWO agenda, man, that agenda 2030 that these elites want to ultimately, you know, bring forth, man, you know, and that's what everything is pushing towards. Right. Everything that they do is one step closer in their mind to getting to that NWO that they want to establish. Right. So I'm going to get into this video in which it is that I have. And I'm going to play it. But before I play it, I want to say fair use on the 1976 Copyright Act. I'm not getting paid for this video. This is only for educational purposes. Only fair use.
Well, law enforcement ramping up security in major cities because of the conflict with Iran. As we just heard, the government is bracing for the possibility of sleeper cells or cyber attacks. News Nation's Rich McHugh is live with that part of the story, Rich.
Hi, Nicole. Yeah, sources in the NYPD tell me that they're on heightened alert for domestic retaliation. They're beefing up soft targets in New York City, cultural institutions, religious sites, etc. That's also extended to D.C. and other cities around the country, that they're focusing on securing these locations with presence. That's basically all I can say at that point. The FBI reportedly shifting resources in New York City, L.A., Chicago, and Philly toward Iran and domestic threats and away from immigration enforcement, telling its field offices to be in close communication with Department of Defense and National Guard too, because military sites could be targets as well. The FBI didn't...
Right. You just heard what it is they just said. Right. They said military troops as well, because those could be possible places where these so-called sleepers can attack, man. Right. So I'm going to go to this precept that I got. Right. Because this is ultimately everything that's leading up to this, man. These events are going to take place, man, because we know that there's going to be chaos like never before that's coming to this place, America, man. And all of the chips, right, or the dominoes, I would say, are set in place for these events to take place, man. And this is ultimately what these devils want, man. Right. They want this to take place, man. You know, they're not trying to stop it. They're not trying to prevent it. They want it to happen, you know. So like I said, again, they can come in trying to play the good guys like they always do and to bring forth that order out of chaos, man. Right. This is Ezekiel chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse 9, right, in the KJV. And it says, son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, say a sword, right? A sword is sharpened and also furbished, right? Verse 10. And it said, it is sharpened to make a sore slaughter, right? Mainly among you Israelites, man, you 2/3 of the nation of Israel, and also you other heathen nations. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth, right? And that's where our people fall short at, because here it is. You got Esau preparing that sword, and he's setting a lot of things into place to ultimately to come down upon you Israelites with that wrath. And everybody's just still in the spirit of mirth, mainly amongst our people, in that spirit of having fun, not taking anything serious, thinking that all of this stuff is going to pass away. Oh, don't worry about what's happening over there in the Middle East. That's not important. They're focusing on, living their lives and doing what it is that they're doing ultimately, right? So that's all these people mind is in that mirth spirit, right? It said, it contemneth the rod of my son as every tree, right? And this is verse 11. It says, and he hath given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished to give it into the hands of the slayer. And who is that slayer? That slayer is Esau, Edom, man. The so-called white man. It tells you in the book of Genesis, chapter 27, verse 40, that his blessing was the sword that his father Isaac gave him. So he's perfected that sword, man, and he's preparing it and is ready to make a sore slaughter, man, upon you Israelites. And these are the times that we're ultimately about to come into, right? That's why you're seeing them do all of these things, man. What they're doing now with the Northern Kingdom, coming up against them with all of these ICE immigration movements and things like that are taking place. It's only a matter of time before all of these things trickle down to you so-called Negroes, man, because that's who ultimately Esau wants to come after the most. When all of this stuff begins to take place, he's going to come after you 12 tribes, man, right? That's why it's called Jacob's trouble, right? So I'm going to get back into this video so we can listen to what it is they're saying, right? But these are the times and seasons that we're living in, right? That all hell can break loose. I mean, any day, man, any day from now. We don't know when the Lord is going to allow these things ultimately to take place, or when this devil can, come with a FALSEFLAG event. A black swan event can take place and change everything as these people know it, man. We're living in that season, right? So I'm going to get back into the video.
I did not comment on the operational decisions, but they did give us a statement I want to read just now. FBI does not comment on specific operational adjustments on personnel decisions. However, we continuously assess and realign our resources to respond to the most pressing threats our national security and to ensure the safety of the American people. But a source close to the White House telling News Nation the administration is actively monitoring sleeper cells, individual spies waiting to be activated by Iran. Now, I spoke with Jonathan Shanzer. He worked as a terrorism finance analyst at the U.S. Treasury. He's an expert on terror finance from Iran. Here's what he had to say.
I think that there is a reasonable concern here, but I also know that the Islamic Republic wants to survive. And if they pick this kind of fight with the United States, I cannot imagine that this is going to sit well with Donald Trump. I think
right. See? And we basically just heard what it is he said. We know ultimately, like I said, again, that's why I started off the video with that 2 Corinthians, man, 2:11. And I'm going to actually get that precept again, but I'm going to read it this time in the KJV, right? Or I'm going to get it in the NLT, Salakia. But this is why we not ignorant of this man's devices, because we know ultimately he wants to bring forward this chaos, man. And he's going to blame it on somebody, as you just heard the guy in the video say. They're going to blame it on Iran, man. That's who all of the fingers are being pointed at. So when something does ultimately take place in this country, they're going to blame it on Iran, man. Right? That's what everything is being set towards, right? Oh, Iran is the one that did it. If anything happens, whether it's a false T attack or whatever could possibly take place, they're going to point the fingers at Iran. And that's where they're allowing everybody to believe, man. But meanwhile, this whole thing going to come from within, man. These devils is ultimately, the ones that's conspiring and putting these things together, man. Right? And I'm going to actually go to a precept touching on that as well, right? Real quick through the spirit. Because these people, all they do is lie, man. They don't know other better thing to do than to lie. Everything that comes out of these people's mouth is a lie, This is Psalms chapter 58. And I'm going to start at verse 3. It said, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies, right? Talking about these Edomites, man. So you can't even put it far-fetched that they won't try to blame whatever happened in this place, America, on Iran, man. And that's only going to heat up the tensions between America, Iran, and all of these other different nations. And ultimately, that's what the Lord is going to do anyway, because that's all leading up to the Third World War, man. Right. So everything is ultimately leading up to those things taking place. But I'm also get this 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. in NLT. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, right? For we are familiar with his evil schemes, man. And we're very familiar with his evil schemes and his tricks and things in which it is that he's doing. We know ultimately that these people can ultimately, create an event, right, and make something happen that's not true. And a lot of people believe it, and that changed the way that this country is ran. And it can bring in all type of other agendas and things of that nature in which it is they want to bring forth. So we're just not ignorant of this man's devices, man. His schemes, his lies, his tricks, and things of that nature. So like I said before, this is a perfect time to be watching, man, more now than ever, because we don't know what's bound to happen. Something can take place today, tomorrow. I mean, we don't know. That's why we always got to be watching, man, as well as praying, as the Lord have, told us to do, especially in this time and season that we're in. We don't know what bound to take place, man, So, yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say with today's video. Just a little quick update. Lord's willing to be edifying. To the next time, I'm going to say shalom to the elect.